Shavua Tov, it's a brand new week with me, Rolene Marks, right here on the Israel Brief, where I am joined by my amazing Israel briefers from all around the world. As always, the Israel Brief is brought to you by Lay of the Land, and we take a look at those top stories making headlines in Israel, the headlines you might not necessarily see in your media in your countries, and we do it every Monday to Thursday. Today is day 486. We have 79 hostages still in captivity in the Gaza Strip until the last one is home. We want them all home now. Now, just a reminder before we get into those headlines, if you have a question that you would like answered here on the Israel Brief, please don't be shy. Pop me a question either via our Facebook page at Lottel's site or in the comments section below. You can also be in touch with us via our website, and more details about our social media, etc., coming up a little later. Also a reminder to put those thinking caps on for the mensch and the moron of the week. Last week was actually quite incredible. We had quite a few mensches and quite a few morons. Let's see if this week we still have that repeat offender or if we have a new moron of the week. But let's get into those top stories. And on Saturday morning, 3 more hostages were released from captivity by Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Now, the first 2 to be released were Ofer Calderon and Yarden Bibas. Now, Yarden, as many of you know, is the husband of Shiri Bibas, the father to those 2 beautiful flame-haired little boys, Kfir and Ariel. And I can tell you that the release of every hostage is very, very emotional for us all. But I think when many of us saw Yarden Bibas, who has lost a significant amount of weight, when we looked into his absolutely distraught eyes, I don't think that there was a dry eye in the house in Israel. Not a single dry eye in the whole of the country. Ofer and Yarden were released in the southern part of the Gaza Strip in Khan Yunis, and then shortly after that, Keith Siegel was released at Gaza port. Of course, they were released being forced to smile and wave on stages with the Red Cross signing certificates of handover, and this was filmed for propaganda purposes by Hamas cameraman. As I said to you last week, it's actually quite astounding that for over a year, the world has believed this absolute nonsense about genocide and starvation, when now I hope that many are seeing for themselves and that the scales, that the wool is being pulled from off their eyes. It was a shock to see the 3 men looking very, very thin. There was a lot of concern for Keith Siegel, who appeared to be quite thin, at parts looking a little bit weak. But what just bolstered us all incredibly was once the hostages had come through into Israeli territory, had been medically assessed, and then flew by helicopter to their various hospitals, when we saw Keith getting out of that helicopter draped in an Israeli flag, the resilience under the most incomprehensible conditions is just extraordinary. Now, many of us have followed Keith's incredible wife, Aviva Siegel. Aviva was born in South Africa, and how she fought like a lioness for her husband, herself also taken captive in Gaza and released in that deal in November 2023. To see Aviva joyfully reunited with Keith along with her children was just absolutely incredible. However, our hearts shattered in a million pieces for Yarden Bibas, whose family, his father and his sister, came to meet him at the reception point. His mother was waiting for him at the hospital. But we know that out of all our hostages, Yarden didn't have his precious wife and his 2 children to welcome him home. And in a statement, the family said, a quarter of our heart has returned, that Yarden has emerged as strong and amazing, but we need time for his body to heal, for his soul to heal, and we will continue to fight for Shiri and the boys. Meanwhile, earlier today, Hamas announced that Sasha Trufanov will be released very soon. Sasha Trufanov, who is a Russian-Israeli citizen, is also a member of staff of Amazon, and we have yet to have any comments come from Amazon about the fact that one of their staff members is a hostage in Gaza. Prime Minister Netanyahu has landed in the United States to an honor guard. He is the first head of state or international leader to meet with President Trump since the new administration took office on the 20th of January. He flew on the plane Wings of Zion along with some of his advisors and was welcomed by diplomats and an honor guard. The president and the prime minister are set to talk about Gaza, possible normalization with Saudi Arabia, of course, Iran, and according to President Trump, talks for the second phase are progressing. 14 European members of parliament have written to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, demanding that UNRWA, that's the United Nations Relief Works Agency, an organization we speak about a lot here on the Israel Brief, calling on it to be dissolved as part of the United Nations. The states that include Spain, Italy, Germany, France, Czech Republic, Luxembourg, and others are very, very concerned following reports from former hostage Emily Damari that she was kept prisoner or held captive in an UNRWA facility. Now, we've been speaking all throughout the now 486 days of UNRWA's role in this war, how other hostages have reported being held in UNRWA facilities or by UNRWA personnel. And we can't forget that horrific footage of an UNRWA social worker kidnapping the corpse of Jonathan Samarano and taking it hostage into Gaza, where it still remains. So we're going to be following the story very, very closely. And of particular interest to the South Africans out there, President Trump has announced that he will be ending all future funding for South Africa. The president stated that the leadership in South Africa is doing horrible, terrible things to certain groups in South Africa. Now, he didn't elaborate who, and says that this is under investigation, but I will take a minute to speak about something that is very, very seldom, if ever, picked up in the mainstream media, and that is the murder of farmers in South Africa. Farmers in South Africa for decades now have been brutally tortured and murdered. And you have certain political parties in South Africa chanting genocidal sayings like kill the boer, kill the farmer. And the result are farmers who have been slaughtered and tortured. So it is the first time, if this is the case, if this is what President Trump is in fact referring to, it will be the first time an international leader has taken such a stand against a vile human rights atrocity that is occurring in South Africa. So let's get on to the audience question of the day, and it comes from Marina in South Africa, who says, Rolene, are the hostages talking about what they endured? They are talking about what they endured, Marina, and the stories are absolutely harrowing. We know from the hostages released this weekend that they were kept in cages, that they were beaten, that they came out malnourished. We know that Keith Siegel was forced to write a thank you letter to Hamas that praised them for the way they treated him. They had no medical treatment with anesthesia or proper medical treatment or access to life-saving medication. They were repeatedly starved. We know that Yarden Bibas was taunted about the situation of his family. And we know that at least several hostages, including Gadi Moses, Arbel Yehud, and Namalevi were held for lengthy periods of time in solitary in the tunnels. We know that for Arbel, she was held for 482 days in a tunnel without seeing anybody else until the release last week, when for the first time she saw another Israeli in the form of Gadi, who gave her a hug. So they are speaking. I'm sure that there is a lot that we won't know about, a lot of intricate medical details that we might not know about, or intelligence details that if they got out could harm the other hostages. But yes, they are definitely speaking. So that's it for the Israel brief for today. Guys, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook/Meta site at Lottel site. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel brief. We're on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, Instagram at Rolene_Marks, X at Lay of the Land 5. And guys, God bless you all. As always, I love being in your company. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.